afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for signing up to the first edition of this external newsletter. We have been feeling for a while that we wanted to communicate to our external partners, to people and organizations outside of our network what we're doing. Finally, we're managing to get this first edition out, thanks to our colleague Charlotte.
And the camera. My name is Giza Pulinch. I'm one of the meeting coordinators here at UNOY Peacebuilders. I focus on our advocacy program, and I'm 29 years old. I am Dutch from Rotterdam with Kurdish Turkish heritage.
And I'm Lorraine, the other leading coordinator. I'm French. I'm 27 years old, and I focus here at UNOY on strategic development and finances.
One fun fact about yourself, Lorraine.
One fun fact about myself, I'm a very good Lindy Hop dancer. And I can walk on my hands.
What? I haven't seen that yet. Cool.
I won't show it on camera.
Maybe the next newsletter. One fun fact about myself is that I come to the office with my dog normally. She's at home today and she's really cute and she once ate an intern's lunch.
And I think we have a few questions to ask each other, to explore a bit how we see our work and also to communicate a bit of our ideas to you in this first external newsletter. So my first question is on capacity building. So we do a lot of capacity building here at UNOY, and I think some of our members are interested to hear a bit more on how the UNOY community is empowering organizations in the network through capacity building.
So we use the term capacity development because we're not building something from scratch. We believe and we see this on a day-to-day basis, that there's a lot of resources, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experiences within our network. It's a network of over 100 youth-led peacebuilding organizations, each having their own strengths. And what UNOY does is connect all of these young peacebuilders around the world to learn from each other, to share their work, their approaches, and to collaborate also. So I would say that our capacity development program is really peer-to-peer learning and realizing that you don't always need externals, that as a community, as a collective of young peacebuilders, that we can really support each other and do an even better job at those values and those objectives that we have set for ourselves.
Yeah, and if I can add to this, we're all really growing into our roles, even here in the Secretariat. And we're always amazed at how much, while developing capacity development programs for our members, we're actually building our own capacities so much.
This is an interesting one. It's from Rafael Diaz. I'm not sure if I can name, but shout out to you, Rafael, who's an intern with Search for Common Ground. And his question is, what are the main challenges in securing funding for youth-led initiatives?
So maybe even before talking about the main challenges, to remind that funding is the main challenge that is listed by our members and also by young people that we meet, and also by us here in the IS. And a lot of our members turn to us or to their peers in the network for building their capacities at becoming better at fundraising, at building partnerships, at communicating about their work in the hope that funding will be secured. Mm-hmm. And that's an important thing, of course, but what we observe in our work is that the funding challenge is actually more of an environment issue, a lack of willingness, a lack of investment from donors and also from other partners in the positive contributions that young people make to peace, and maybe the focus on other topics that are selling a little bit more.
Violence, extremism.
Yeah. Education, employment, migration, those challenges also in Western Europe that attract a lot of donor attention instead of all the remarkable peace-building initiatives that we see happening everywhere.
Yeah, and maybe sometimes it's not always a lack of willingness, but also a lack of understanding the actual realities of youth-led peace-building organizations, not knowing what are kind of appropriate sizes of funds, what type of guidance or support might be needed, and how young people, the type of actions that they think are important to take when wanting to build more peaceful and inclusive societies. Understanding really the nature of youth-led peacebuilding work, that sometimes can also be a barrier between donor community and young peacebuilders.
I've anticipated and already picked the next one. Where do we see UNOY in the next 5 years?
Tricky one. I find this a really, really big question. It's not just up to me because, again, we're a network, a member-led network. So here at the Secretariat, it is really our task to listen and to take in the priorities, the needs of our member organizations, and to see where they want to take UNOY.
Our ambition, let's say for the network, at the structural level, would be that what we've started doing, creating regional coordinators and investing a lot of our own resources and time into strengthening decision-making, member communication and engagement at the regional level would continue. And that in 5 years or maybe in 10 years, those regional communities within the UNOY network are self-reliant, maybe even self-funded, with their own strategies fitting into the overarching global strategy of UNOY, and really leading on different peace and security conversations at the regional level.
Okay, over to the next one. What is the motivation behind the growth? Because we have been growing.
Yeah, we've been growing.
In what sense? No.
Yeah, we've been growing. Both our membership is growing. We have now over 100 youth-led organizations part of our network. The motivation behind that is that we want to support and represent and gather in the community, the UNOY community, as many diverse young people as possible, and increasingly in regions that are affected by conflict or that are in immediate post-conflict situations where there's a huge youth population and that we haven't been very active in the past. But our team here also has been growing, so to support better a growing network, that's always the motivation.
There is also an external component, which is with the adoption of Resolution 2250 and Young Peacebuilders becoming more higher up on the agenda of policymakers and more visible. Also, young people have been coming across UNOY Peacebuilders more often and getting in touch with us and saying, hey, I want to be a part of this, or hey, I'm running this really cool group in my community in this country. How can we be part of UNOY? So there's also, that's also one of the reasons for the growth, I would say. Whose turn is it? Yours?
What are some of the challenges we've been facing in mainstreaming youth participation?
We mentioned that we want to increasingly reach out to young people that face multiple forms of marginalization. They're from certain social groups in their societies, or minority groups, or they're living in areas where there is an ongoing, very active violent conflict. And we've noticed that it's very difficult to, especially, we have a number of representatives, so at the regional level, our member organizations elect their decision makers, so to say, and at the moment we have a representative from Yemen, from Nigeria,
Afghanistan,
and it's been so difficult to get these representatives here to participate in our annual planning and reflection sessions, or for them to externally represent UNOY and to channel the voices of young people in their region to policymakers or other stakeholders. That's been so difficult, whether it's the issue of getting a visa, because there's always this assumption that if you're a young man from a particular context, then probably you might not return back home, or it's more financial. It's also a lot more complicated. It's been difficult to support the direct kind of involvement, participation, meaningful participation of young people living in conflict-affected countries.
There are a few young people that are participating, and it's often the same. And we're always really trying to make sure that the diversity of our membership also gets to speak and gets to represent UNOY and to represent a youth voice in various platforms. But for them and also for us, there is a bit of an uneven attention and an investment in making this youth participation possible. I think that's a very good follow-up question. What does progress looks like for youth participation?
We've discussed this a bit,
Yeah.
and I think one common experience is that whenever you're, I don't know, in a certain space or you're in a certain process, the point of departure is often why is it important that young people are included, that they participate in a peace building process or development more broadly, and we always have to start with that question. And I think progress for us would look, or it would mean that it's a given, it's common sense. Doing a program or developing a policy without taking into account youth, which are the majority of the world's population, would be unthinkable, and that it would be more that we would immediately jump to the question of how do we do it. I think that is what progress would look like for us when it comes to youth participation. Not having to defend the right of young people to participate, but that it's common sense.
I agree. I don't have anything to add.
What is UNOY doing for the localization of 2250?
So we have been using also this coining of localizing the 2250 agenda ourselves for a number of years, and it's quite a catchy way of putting it. But actually, I think we no longer really agree with the use of this term because it sounds like if there was this global agenda and that now we need to make it local, when actually this was a local agenda all along. And when 2250 was adopted, it was adopted thanks to and only because all these local voices gathered together and formulated a strong common message and managed to bring it up to the global policy fora.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily a UN agenda only. Of course, it's been established in collaboration with international NGOs, other civil society organizations, and our allies within the UN and member states, also the leadership of member states. But it's really, as Laurent said, it came about through the joint efforts of young peacebuilders worldwide. They were at the forefront, along with all of these other partners. So what our member organizations have been doing is they've been creating coalitions. They've been bringing together young people, their peers from their community, sometimes actors from the governmental level, whether it's local or national, international community that's sometimes present in their countries, and really looking at the different principles and pillars of 2250, there are 5 in total, and looking at what does this mean for our national context, and what kind of joint action can we take on the basis of this, the principles of 2250.
And I would add that one more thing maybe we're trying to do to support our members in their local advocacy or their local engagements is by also including this as a skill development in our capacity development programs. We have toolkits, we have resources, and we've also in the past done trainings on advocacy specifically, but we also have teams, advocacy teams, in which members of these teams learn from each other, pull from their different contexts, and then bring this back to a regional environment or a regional group of actors. I think this is our last question.
Yes. Ooh, I hope I pronounce your name correctly. Morgan Ochen Dante. You're our top fan on Facebook. Thank you for that. I've seen you have been translating Resolution 2250 toolkit to different languages. When will the document be translated to Swahili? Laurent, tell me when.
Yes. Well, I'm going to answer this with a call for contribution. If there's anyone listening to us who speaks Swahili or any other language, or who has any other idea about how to improve our work, how to make what we're producing more accessible,
relevant,
more widely used, this is a collaborative network, and we're really eager to hear from you all your good ideas.
And to directly work with you in executing those as well.
Yeah, and it's really, the nature of our network is really like that. I think something like 97, almost 100% of our members, and of young people working for peace themselves are volunteers. So we rely on you.
And yeah, just thank you for your time and making it to the end of the video.
Yes, bearing with us.
Bye bye.